Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a really fascinating and, I gotta say, pretty intense theory about power. It's all based on this idea that in our noisy social world, real power isn't about what you say, but about what you don't say. Let's break down this idea of silence as a weapon.
So let's just get right into the central idea here. What this quote is getting at is that every single time you explain yourself or justify what you did, or just try to fill some awkward silence, you're not actually defending yourself. No, you're building a cage. You're basically handing over the blueprint to your own mind, showing everyone where your weak spots and anxieties are.
So, how exactly are your words a cage? Well, this theory argues that all that explaining you're doing is like a massive energy leak. I mean, think about the effort you spend just trying to be understood, trying to make sure people think you're reasonable. Or, and this is the big one, just trying to be liked. All that output, we're told, just leaves you totally drained and vulnerable. And this, right here, this gets to the heart of it. Picture a room. While you're working overtime to be agreeable, palatable, someone else in that room, the one this theory calls the predator, is doing the exact opposite. They're just watching, listening, gathering information, and they're gaining all the power just by being still and silent. It's two completely different games being played on the same board.
All this constant effort, it leads to a problem that I think we can all relate to on some level. Just this deep sense of social exhaustion. And the source material has a great name for it.
It's called the Likability Tax. Just think about that. It's this invisible price you pay every day for managing the version of you that lives inside other people's heads. It's the energy you burn just scanning the room for approval, tweaking your personality to fit in. And according to this theory, that tax is keeping you psychologically broke. Which brings us to this pretty provocative question. Are you a biological vending machine? I mean, are you just letting anyone walk up, push your buttons, and get a predictable reaction? The source uses this metaphor to say, look, when you're constantly seeking approval, you're giving away the remote control to your own emotions.
Okay, so what is the actual psychology behind this? How does just being quiet create power? Well, it all boils down to creating an information vacuum, a void, that other people can't help but try to fill.
The first key idea is something called information asymmetry. And honestly, it's pretty simple. You learn everything you can about other people by listening, by observing, while you reveal almost nothing about yourself. That immediately creates a power imbalance. Because think about it. They can't predict you, they can't manipulate you if they don't know what makes you tick.
And when you get that imbalance just right, it creates what the source calls a psychological black hole. It's such a great image, right? Your silence, your unpredictability, it becomes this gravitational force. People are drawn to it. They start working hard just to get a reaction out of you. And that's the flip. They start adjusting their behavior to you instead of you adjusting to them.
And this just lays it out so clearly. You've got two ways to operate. You can be the open book, you're predictable, you're manageable, and you spend your whole life reacting to the world around you. Or you can be the black hole, unpredictable, powerful, a force that makes the world adjust to it.
Now, I know this can all sound a bit abstract. So the source gives us this fantastic story from history to show you exactly what this looks like in action. We're going back to 1809, and there's this major showdown between Napoleon Bonaparte, the most powerful man in Europe, and his foreign minister, a guy named Talleyrand.
So Napoleon is just absolutely livid. He's screaming at Talleyrand in front of the entire court, insulting his honor, his family, everything. And what does Talleyrand do? He just stands there, perfectly still, perfectly silent. He doesn't say a word. After Napoleon finally runs out of steam and storms off, Talleyrand just calmly turns to everyone watching and says this one devastating line. And this moment forces us to ask a really important question. Who actually held the power in that room? Was it the emperor, red in the face, screaming, showing all of his emotional cards for everyone to see? Or was it the minister, whose unshakable calm basically absorbed the entire attack and made the most powerful man on the planet look like a child throwing a tantrum?
Okay, so the theory is compelling, but the real question is, how do you actually do this?
Well, the source material gives us a super clear, very practical 4-step framework for turning this idea into a real tool.
Let's walk through these, because they're really specific. So step 1, the 90-second purgatory. The idea is that a strong emotional reaction is basically just a chemical rush in your body that lasts about 90 seconds. So what do? You just wait. Let it pass before you even think about responding. Okay, step 2, the specimen gaze. Instead of getting emotionally hooked, you just look at people with this kind of cool, detached curiosity, almost like you're a scientist observing a specimen. It's incredibly unnerving for the other person, and it flips the dynamic completely. Now, step 3 is wild, asymmetrical agreement. If someone insults you, you don't fight back. You don't defend yourself. You calmly agree with them. It's designed to just completely disarm the attack. And finally, step 4, strategic withdrawal. You just make yourself scarce. The theory goes that the more available you are, the less your presence and your attention are actually worth.
But, there's a catch. There's always a catch, right? Using this framework comes with some pretty big consequences. And the source is very clear that it all comes down to a final, pretty stark choice that you have to make. And here's the trade-off, laid out plain and simple. On one side, you've got the warmth of being liked. It feels good, it creates connection, but man, is it exhausting. It requires constant management. On the other side, you have the cold freedom of being respected. This creates what the source calls sovereignty. You are in total control of yourself, but it takes incredible discipline, and yeah, it can be really, really isolating. And look, the source is really upfront about this. This is a lonely path. People probably won't get it. They'll call you cold, maybe arrogant, but the whole idea is to reframe that isolation. It's not a punishment, it's a fortress. It's the ultimate sign that you are no longer a prisoner to what other people think of you. And that leaves us with the final provocative question this whole theory is asking. Now that you see how the strings of social approval are pulled, are you happy to keep dancing along, or are you ready to cut them for good and embrace that cold, difficult freedom this theory is talking about? Definitely something to think about.